Okay, so number 3, this is homework number 7. And we're talking about specifically number 3 and then part B. So I was helping someone with their homework, and it was really disturbing that we need to probably hash over details and keynotes and key hints and all that fun stuff again. So part B, it says that the domain name of your website lease is $10,000 at 1.78, I'm sorry, 1.78%, and for 50 years. So again, your hints here, the fact that it is a lease, you should be triggering in your head a present value annuity plus the fact that it is compound period equals 12. So this is what you should be known. This is a given, and it is a mental given, right? Mental hint, because of the way I've structured the class. Okay, from there, you must realize that because I gave you a present value of 10,000, you must be solving for R, right? You cannot solve for anything that you're already given to. Now, again, I know I'm killing it by repeating that to those that really understand this and they have it down pat. Again, kudos. So, tune me out. But for the rest of you that still have this trouble, if I ask, it's a lease, so what is it supposed to be? And then you go, annuity, and I go, what kind? If you say future, if you answer future, if you type out future, if you even utter it, I cringe. I'm not going to yell or blow up at you, but I cringe because it's like, what the hell have I been saying this whole time, right? So it's a present value annuity for a lease. Now, the other trouble, and it's more of a caveat, is understanding what the hell we're solving for. Well, there's only 2 options, right? So it's either the present value or the recurring payment. And in this case, since the recurring payment is unknown, or better way to think of it, they gave you that you're given 10K up front, you have to realize that you're solving for the other variable, right? If it's on A, it's B. If it's on B, it's A, that type of thing. Replace your A's and B's with this stuff. In any event, that's my little speech right there for that. Here is the formula written out. Let me know, please, if this is correct, because if this is correct, this is exactly what you have written on your paper, then I bet you it was a calculator / syntax issue. And if it was a syntax issue, please let me know that you want to see it written out. So let me write out this formula really quick for you. 1 minus 1 plus 0.01875. So it's over 12, and we're doing it for, I already forgot, 50 years? 600. Okay, so that's part B setup. Number 3, again, this is second component, lease for number 3. Let me get the answer up again.
Oh yeah, I did the formula, but I forgot to divide the bottom 0.1875 by 12.
Ah,
yeah.
Right. So this is what I suggest. Some of these strategies, I would say you can still mimic it. So obviously this final, I'm going to make it open exam. I'm not going to fool myself and go and write on big bold letters, you should be working on this by yourself, closed book, integrity and all that stuff. Do you all have integrity? Yes, I think you do. Can I all trust you to, really do this on your own? I don't know, So it's definitely going to be open note. You definitely want to work on it on your own, but again, I don't know how I'm going to stop you guys from talking to one another. So again, integrity, right? But with that being said, despite all that, you should still have a nice, huge cheat sheet, because I was going to give you a cheat sheet that was a whole full page of paper if we were doing this in-class exam, right? Remember how we had a note card, right? You were able to write a note card back and forth. You would have gotten that for first exam, second exam, and then when I give back the second exam, you would already have 2 note cards that you can transfer into a huge 8.5 by 11, your standard sheet of paper, for an entire cheat sheet. So right now, if, say, for example, you obviously know because you all are doing well, but say, for example, you forget for a moment that n times CP and I has to be divided by CP, you should be creating or constructing a cheat sheet right now, right? And then what will happen is that you'll go, oh yeah, I got to remember this. Oh yeah, I got to remember this. And so when you go through the practice problems, there will be a time where you can adjust adjust the cheat sheet, right? You don't have to erase, but you can make a new one, a cleaner one, saying like, oh wait, I practiced enough such that I remember this already, or I don't have to write this down, or it's like, hey, I still have trouble remembering this. I got to write it down, and so on and so forth. All right. What about? So I'm glad I answered your question there. I'm sorry I didn't recognize your voice. Any people with the trouble with the summation, or how about the fact that?
Can you go over that too?
Sure. Hopefully part A you came to, I didn't write out this answer. Let me do that really quick. Number 3 is $25.69. Okay, now with the summation, right, it's the vernacular of the language. You have to realize that there's always a start number and a growth number. Let's use different colors. I'm gonna use green and blue. So the starting, how do you tell the starting? I'll read it to you. Suppose the first day your post reaches 5 people. No question about that. And you always know the growth is because I always phrase it this way. So don't worry, you don't have to expect me phrasing it a different way. Research suggests that for each interaction shared, it reaches 3 new people the next day. So there's your growth. So when I say, hey, give me the summation, a lot of you are able to do this. Again, this was someone I was helping the other day. The problem with this expression is that this represents only a single day, right? Represents a single day. Very important distinction. To make it a summation where you count the revenue day after day, right? It's to actually put this summation symbol with those numbers. And this piece right here does not calculate anything. It's like an accessory. It's like an equal sign, right? Like an equal sign. Nothing to solve. Okay, now your numbers go in, and that last piece that you need to worry about is that this again only provides the numbers gain, right? How much the website is seeing, posting, whatever you want to call it, right? The last thing I tell you is that you make 0.0015 per interaction. So you got to multiply this by 0.0015, all right? So that's the summation component, right? This is the money maker. The money maker. All right. I'm not going to do letter C because that's compound continuously. So hopefully you know what to go on there unless someone stops me. So let me just write out really quick the model, at least for completion's sake. Right, your base model should be this 0.0015 summation of I equals 1 to n. We started with 5 people, at least for the base model, grows by 3 every time. We're going to subtract that lease 25, 69. And then I didn't show it here, but again, if anyone needs to see it, just let me know. Then you have the one-time payment of, what do I have here? 36,000. 536.70. Again, this is your base model. In other words, you start May. May is going to be happening on Friday, right? And this is what it looks like. So the translation is to realize that when you decipher the numbers, oh, come on. There you go. When you decipher the numbers up here, right? This is the form I want you to understand. That's the growth. And then to show growth day after day is why we learned about summation. Okay. And then the follow-up questions, as you can imagine, talk about how to manipulate it. So there's that. All right. What are the questions for number 3? Whether, well, the model's right there, but any of the follow-up questions, they should be straightforward, right? Number 1 is a calculating one, asks you for the first 7 days and just a single day. Numbers 2 and 3 ask you to manipulate the models and the numbers in terms of the growth, okay? I didn't ask it here, but it's implied, right? What happens immediately going from the second month going forward with our model? If someone would humor me the pleasure of answering that into their mic, that'd be great. If you need me to repeat the question, that's fine too. Maybe someone typed out the answer. No one did. Oh, come on. What happens with that second month that going forward, second month onward, that you don't have to acknowledge anymore? You can type out the answer. Right. Thank you, Olivia. So the compound continuous component, it is not there anymore. You did it. It was done. Boom. Right? It happened in the first month. Single deposit. If you've forgotten that, maybe you should have your formula sheet out, whipped out, so that you have it for quick reference. Remember, we labeled that second row in the formula sheet saying that it was going to be not only compound continuously, right? Anything with the natural log or the letter E, but it happens as a single deposit, because if it was multiple deposits, we would have learned something by now, but we have not. And just as a precursor question or answer, I personally am unaware if there are such things as annuity questions that involve the compound continuously, period, which isn't a period, it's just the whole thing as a whole, okay? But thank you. You said in your mind, you didn't type it or say it out loud. Good job patting the back, but say something next time. All right. Since I'm not hearing anything else, what about questions for number 4?
Question on number 3.
Or any other questions for number 3? Yeah, that's fine. Either or.
The first leading question.
The
Like
first
for
leading
7 day
number
and
3 or number 4?
number 3.
Number 3. Okay, sure thing. Yeah, sure thing. So let's take a look here. All right. Since we didn't get to do this in person, right? What happens is that I normally like to take the opportunity to show people that your graphing calculator can actually do this. However, since everyone has a different graphing calculator, I'm not going to teach it. So depending on your graphing calculator, it could actually do summations. But otherwise, the expectation is to do it by hand. Number 1, when it says first 7 days and the 15th day, you have to distinguish that this is question 1. There are 2 things happening here. First 7 days versus 15th day. So let's do the 15th day because that's the easiest. Remember how I said this was a single day? All you do is you take those same numbers, which again are 5 times 3 to the I minus 1. And again, no summation because you're not adding up anything. It's just the 15th day. Well, therefore, you take this 15 and you plug it in here. And then it becomes 5 times 13. 5 times 3 to the 15 minus 1. And if we need to be that deliberate, it just basically means 5 times 3 to the 14. So when you calculate this, I have the answer right here. Where'd it go? There you go. Number, for the 15th day, it was 23,914,845. And again, these are views, right? This represents people. How much did you make? Answering that question has to do with that 0.15, right? This is the actual money per whatever. In this case, it's per person or per view. So you take this amount and you multiply it by 0.0015. If it helps, you can think of it as keeping it in part of the equation right there. But again, it's not a formal equation, it's just an expression. It's an algebraic expression where you have numbers and you just got to plug it in. This rounds to 35,000. What is that? 35,872.27. So both of these are the answer, right? There's this piece that you have to worry about. And then there's this piece right there. Now, when it's asking for the first 7 days, you do utilize the summation, right? So you're going, and it's again, the first 7 days. That fact that it says first is the indication that you're doing from starting day one. So I equals 1 to 7. Why 7? Because it's 7 days. And then you write down the same thing, 5 times 3 to the I minus 1. And again, this is technically also multiplied by 0.0015 as well. Now, what do? This is equivalent to saying do 5 times 3 to the minus 1, 7 times, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll list it out just so you can see. And then add them all together. That's what's asking you to do. They're asking you to do this plus 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Most of the time you see this written out horizontally, but I'm just doing it this way to save space so that people could see. Right? You're doing this 7 times, but the difference is that you're counting off the days. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 3rd day, 4th day, 5 day, 6th day, 7th day, 5th day. You know, I'm just being funny in terms of how I'm describing it. -1, -1, -1, -1, -1. So why do the pink numbers change and everything else stays the same, right? This is what I was talking about for that summation video that I made for you all, right? The 5, 3, and 1 in the original summation are unchanged. There's no variable there. There's a single variable in the power. It's that I. And so it cycles by increasing by 1 every time to show you its progression to represent each day of the month, starting from day 1 all the way to day 7. And once you get these numbers, right, you just add them to each other. Anyway, I'm not going to sit here and calculate each of those one by one. That's what you all are supposed to do, but I will give you the answer. So this answer added up together was in the back, but I'll write it here, 5,465 views, right? And then you get your numerical answer, right, in terms of how much money was made by multiplying. And then this implies you made $8.20. And I may have said this already on Friday, but the idea is that you're supposed to realize that the difference between making $8.20 versus 35,000 here on the right is that this only represents the first 7 days, right? Slow growth at first. That's how all exponential growth at least works. Whereas on the 15th day here, you made a whopping 35K. And that's insane. It's almost 36K, right? Because that's only day 15. That does not include day 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, or the previous $8.20, or the fact of adding them all together. So it's quite remarkable. Now, of course, I mentioned this before. Is this exactly how social media growth goes, or even chain emails? No. This is how they probably behave at first, but they don't go up to infinity forever. It's just a nice demonstration. And excuse me, before anyone asks, you're not going to be doing a whole bunch of calculations for the days, right, on the final. It's not a test of, you know, how many numbers can you crank it out before you give up type of thing, right? It's not that kind of effort test, but be expected to do some calculations by hand so that you can figure out what the total is, and be expected to do a single calculation so that you know what's going on, right? And then again, parts 2 and 3 ask you to take the base model and manipulate it appropriately. As long as you understand the verbiage, you know which numbers you are changing, and that can be shown in the solution as well. All right, what other questions on homework? I know this is still number 3, but what about number 4? Everyone received the email, right? That was, there was a typo because it turned out that I didn't have the answers written out. So I typed them up, but then I saw there was a negative where it shouldn't have. So I emailed everyone immediately, both my sections, saying, hey, these are the proper numbers, and they've been adjusted in the textbook already. All right. If there aren't any questions.
Can you
Sorry,
go
go ahead.
over part 1, 2, and 3 of exercise 4, please?
Yep.
Like the last ones, basically.
Right. The one asking about, we'll make sure here, the break-even point. Second
Yes,
model,
exactly,
we're going to
exactly.
do a deposit, and then the last one, they changed it. Okay. So yeah, I can do those. No problem. So assuming that the model is done correctly, now we're on number 4. right? Assuming your base model is correct for anyone for that matter. I'm just gonna write out the numbers here really quick. You should have gotten the following: 29.933x minus 100. And I'll color code as well for the sake of it. So there's clear distinction even though we didn't do the actual calculations. Again, I'm just repeating, I'm copying the answers from the back of the book. And these are correct because I was able to go over it with a student to make sure that I'm kept honest. Minus 4860 minus 0.12 parentheses, and then the same thing here, 29.993x minus 100. So before we move on, what questions do we have, if any, about arriving at this model, right? Your income generator is that of the cost, revenue, and profit domain. You got a really expensive lease going on, as well as a really expensive recurring payment going on. All right. Now, break even, right? Break even is setting, this is question 1. Is setting $0 equal to what? Your expression slash model, right? We are not setting that equal to only the profit function. This is not a cost revenue problem. Cost revenue profit problem, right? There are more pieces involved with this model, right? So you can't solve for the break even just using this, right? So I'm going to write under here, not only P of X, because I've seen that happen before on exams. Now, what do you do here? Again, I'm unsure if it was for this section or the other section, but if you don't realize that the combination of these, use a different color here, of these two, like I wrote in the solution, which I said was 0.88, that's fine, right? You can distribute this here properly and you'll still get the right answer. Just watch out to make sure that this is negative and this is positive in terms of sign. Okay, so you're going to set this entire model equal to 0, which will look like this. And I'm going to distribute that just so that people can see. So it's 29.933x minus 100. Well, these are all numbers now, so I'm going to combine these two here. So again, this is, I'm going the path or the method if you didn't know that you could combine the two profit functions into one. Actually, you know what? I'll include the 100 here too. So let me rewrite that. Let's include this 100 as well. So those three I'm combining right now. So 27208.97 and 100 and 4860.17. So this is now becoming minus 32,169.14. Again, I have to subtract off 0.12 times 29.99, no, 933. 933. Yeah, this is a typo right here, so watch out if you're copying along. It's 933. This becomes 3.59196x, and now plus 12. So now these two have to combine right here. The pink number and the blue number, or light blue number. And that also means that you combine these two now because these are both x's. So now I'm going to throw the black number still on the right side of your equal sign, right? That's what we're solving for. So that would be 29.933 minus 3.59196, which is 26.34104x. And then on the other side, you get what is that? 32,169.14 minus 12. In green, we have on the left side, right? You combine the pink and blue number and you add it to the other side because it was negative 157.14. And then you divide both sides by 26, right? And you find out x is equal to 0.34104. And you get 1222.799938 blah blah blah. What? These are amenity kits, right? They're always some type of item. This is another mistake students write. If you tell me dollars here, I'm going to ding you off a point because you are not solving for dollars, right? It's always some kind of object. How can you solve for $0 and still get a dollar answer? That does not make sense. Period. Never. Okay. And last but not least, you got to round up. So that implies 1, 2, 2, 1 kits. Right? For part 2, question 2, it asks you, I forgot. You want to make an extra $500,000 in 20 years and compound continuously, right? You know that this is compound continuously. And since they told you that you want 5 million, this implies you must be using this one, right? If you want to have 5 million, that's the number they're providing you in your equation. So you can't solve for F if you have F, right? Let me say that another way, because I remember I was explaining this to a student, it sounded confusing. You want 5 million in the future, right? So you don't physically have it, but mathematically, you're given that number. That's why you're solving for how much you need to deposit to arrive at 5 million as an answer, but you don't physically have 5 million, and that's why you're solving for the principal, right? I realized when I was explaining to the student, I said, you don't have 5 million physically, but you have the number 5 million, so that means you can solve for the number that you don't have, right? So it may have been confusing. In any event, this number, once you plug in all your details here, it should look like this. 12% in 20 years, so that's 0.12 times 20. Once you get this, your model becomes for the second month. Becomes the same exact thing as we had for the base model, but you just tack on this answer, right? Which again is 29.933x minus 100. What colors do I use? Minus 27. 208. 97 minus 4860 minus 0.12 and then now you have this extra component, which is 45 35898. Okay, and again, if you took the time to combine these two, that would be correct as well for those that are comfortable with that. For question 3, this is more theoretical and a little bit of manipulation because you don't have to physically write out the answer in model form if you don't want to, if you can explain what's happening. So they're telling you that contract workers agree to produce the kits at the same rate. What that basically means is that produce at same rate implies your cost function stays the same. I don't know why people are leaving the class, right? That's why I take the moment to say each kit produced can now be sold for $40. What that implies is that which implies an increase in the revenue function. More specifically, I told you that it went from the original revenue function. Let me use a different color here. Original R of X equals 30X. So this means now you go to new R of X equals 40X. And what you're supposed to realize that if this happens, this also implies a change in the profit function, right? And this is what I was trying to teach. Now you can take the time to do the algebra where you take the new revenue function and subtract the cost function. That works too. Or you realize that this right here is a $10 increase, which also implies that the slope of P of X also increases by 10. Now, if you can surmise that properly, you know, give it to me in basically 2 to 3 sentences, you'll get full credit. If you don't know how to do that, you can always rewrite the model, and the model will look like this. Third month's model. I forgot to box this answer up here, so let me do that really quick for anyone that refers back to the notes. So now this should be not 29, but 39.933x minus 100. The intercept does not change because changing the slope doesn't affect that. You're still subtracting off this monthly payment. You're getting rid of only one piece here, and it's this last bit. So you still minus 12 because you're paying 12% of the company to your employees, but you got to make sure you do 39 in here as well, right? Everywhere you see that profit function, and we dropped that 45,000 because that was a one-time payment. It was compound continuously. This is the answer if you give it to me either in model form, or you can write it out by logic, realizing it's these details right here. I mean, you can write that even in 2 sentences, I believe, if not 1. All right. What other questions on homework?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so you always get your answers on my textbook, but the whole nitty-gritty working it out, right? That's up to you to not only figure it out on your own, but ask in class when you go, hey, I got close to your answer, but not exactly answer. Why? You know, that type of thing. All right. Now, if there aren't any other questions for homework, let me talk about the format for the final. It's going to look something like this. So the first thing for sure is that it will be a combination of Blackboard entry, right? You're going to type in answers. And upload answers. Okay, obviously it's going to be open book, but you should be working solo. Okay, I will pretty sure that I'm going to make it available in a single sitting, right? A single sitting. But right, it's going to be, you can, of course, I remember somebody was asking about this. You can go back and forth. You can, sorry, that's supposed to be can. You can go back and forth with questions, and it's going to be extended time. So you might not be able to save and come back to it because I'm going to put it in a single sitting, but it's going to be extended time. My prediction right now, this is just ballparking because I got to sit methodically about it. I'm probably going to give you 4 to 5 hours, right? So that if you do need to stand up and go somewhere, sure, take a break, eat something, whatever the case. But I'm definitely going to make it where it's a single sitting where there's a little bit of a time constraint. Well, not little, there is a time constraint versus kind of like, oh, I'm going to have you save your progress and then come back to it later type of thing. Okay, so you can go back and forth with questions, right? It won't be, you know, you see problem number 1 and then that's it, right? And then I'm going to give extended time. You're not going to do it in 2 hours because I just think that's a little bit unfair.
So will we have this on like Tuesday? Only like on Tuesday you can take it, or can you like decide to open it a certain day of the week and take it
Okay.
that?
Right. So this can be taken anytime. Be taken anytime within dates I will provide. Something of that nature. Yeah, it won't be limited to a single day.
Okay.
But I probably should actually. Maybe within 2 days. Actually, you know what? I don't know yet. Wait, I can't do cross out here? How come I can't do cross out?
Because the only reason why I ask is because I have a class at 2 right after this. So like I don't know what I would do if I had to take it on Tuesday and I needed that time, you know?
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Well, everyone can take it on a Friday, right? Anybody that's not taking it, or like a Saturday or Sunday like
Oh,
that.
yeah, for
Nobody's
sure.
going anywhere, right? Yeah, okay, so you know what? That's a good thing. Yeah, I will pick a day. Probably a weekend where everyone can take it. Because I don't want to take away time from you, and nor do I want to give people a single sitting. A single class time, like a 2 hours. You know, you're home, you have the benefits of it. You know, this is a little bit awkward. It's a different environment. And then after you do your work, you have to take a picture, upload. Like, we want zero chances of this going wrong, right? So that's the format, right? Now, in terms of the content, right? It's going to look something like this. I'm thinking 6 to 7 questions. Skipping 1, right? And generally, this is how I do it. 2 from the first exam. 2 from the second exam. 2 modeling problems. I'm pretty sure you guys know which one to skip, right? But don't be surprised. There are actually people that do 2 the modeling problems, for an example. But also, let me tell you about the details about within each exam. So for example, the first exam, no graphing. So you don't have to worry about graphing on the final. There's also no simple interest either. Okay. From the second exam, there's no simple interest. No simple interest. There's no purchasing analysis, which means that you have to make sure you know how to do amortization schedule. That was the only other concept that was there. Okay, so let me lay this out for people so you can see it right there. Of course, this is going to be on Blackboard later. So what does that mean for you now? If people need another homework assignment because of either A, practice, B, they want more points to work on, you know, I'll start typing one and then maybe I'll make it optional, maybe. We'll see. I don't know, right? But what you already definitely have, right? And this is nice because I prepared it in advance, is you have a full-fledged sample final in my textbook. And it has not only the answers, it has the full-fledged solutions written out as well. Okay, so on page, let me write this in a different color. This is not homework, this is practice, right? Practice. What the hell's going on with my pencil? There we go. So practice, not homework. Is available. Oops. Available. It's on page, what is this? 43 in the appendix. And then there are questions and full-on answers. But the way I did it was I wrote the question and then I wrote the answer, okay? And what I also did was that they're mostly modeling problems. And the reason is that a model, as you can see, encompasses everything, right? In fact, there's a really, really long model in chapter 3 where I haven't written the answer yet because I haven't gone around to it, but you can see it has like 6 or 8 follow-up questions. And the reason is that I'm not gonna obviously do it on this final, let alone a semester where we're all online right now. But a really good final is that I can give you like 2 models and just have a whole bunch of follow-up questions and have them be, what do you call it, based on all these contents. So you don't have to have individual questions, but then that would feel too daunting to students. I know it would, but I'm slowly finding a way to implement that. So the practice on page 43, they're mostly models, I'll tell you that right now, but they encompass a lot of the details that we have gone over in the first and second exams, for one. And two, I have like a mega long model that really talks about all those aspects of the class.